All right, so this one is going to be called Abbreviations and Combos. Dot, 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 before your very eyes. Now, one thing you must understand about these franks and or not scenes or not sees is, now note how I'm saying this, okay? It's in, the last version of that I said is NOT space SEE, and you might give it a little tiny S at the end, okay? Because that's the effect they're going for. They constantly have to be masked. Thus, theater, one of their favorite weapons, theater masks. That's why they usually, wherever they go, they're inundated with this cult of the theater masks. You'll see two of them. And some of their favorite weapons, I guess you should say, are alternate definitions, but won't tell you about. That's perceptional deception, the para-definition or counter-definition. So that's how that works. Then also they have theater, acting, and wardrobe. And, this is two words, again, I mentioned it, I think, a few chapters ago, but it's two words that rarely get used, but needs to be referred to much, much, much more often because it kind of covers their whole thing. They being the Franks, it's called avant-garde, or avant-garde, some people say. I just say avant-garde. And all it is a theater movement. So if you can just imagine somebody playing police officer, a good one, in reality, but they're playing it to themselves in a reality play, but wearing all the good wardrobe. Well, does it make sense now why the heck they do all this, I guess what one might know as illegal, unlawful, or I think some people refer to it as Gestapo stuff, But anyway, now they, meaning the Franks, or the Nazis, or however you want to put it, Nazis, they use these parallel alternate definitions to deceive one's perception. And that's totally what they go by, and how they separate people from what is theirs or what they are or whatever it is by their own perception. Basically, that's just a fancy way of putting that they fool them, okay, as to what is being referred to. That means to get away with something, steal something, etc. Pre, during, and or post contract. And again, the nasty prefix there is con, because there is such a word as tract. So just look it up if you need to. So it's the same thing. What is being said here? If you were, it's like saying this is how they. Like one example would be like it was a rock, not a rock, you idiot. So the first rock meaning like a once back and forth, by a granny like in a rocking chair. versus the second rock, meaning a stone, of which they might have been referring to a question such as, what was that? In parentheses, creaking noise. Now, this next one I'll refer to as it's a lot more sensitive than you might think. The question's going to be, what is a spouse? To American sovereigns, that means. So what that would mean would basically be, a wife or a husband to American sovereigns. Now, to these frank, not seen or, American imposters or whatever. It's a combination of the abbreviation. So the S in spouse would be special. The P would be person. The O would be of, like OF. And the rest of the letters would be spelled out as use. Okay, so basically that is Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, terms in their own publication that I observed anyway as special person of use. Now, what would they use that for? Well, because they're always, and this is probably coming up pretty soon here, where I'll explain the way they have been apparently stealing all the American sovereigns' estates and all the banking privileges that go with it, such as, quote, free, unquote, trade, and things like that. Special person of use can only be utilized under a business. A special person, you can think of person as a shell, and they do rely on a shell a lot, both in, a physical world, a computer world, and whatever else you can think of. But as far as a person goes, they think that the person, which is why they have internal and external, especially the courts. Ask any master judge or chief judge if they know the difference between internal and external. They'll tell you, but if they do, they're going to be admitting a big no-no in the world of courts. What internal and external is. And I'll touch on that later as well. But a special person of use means a special shell of use. Or, sauce, if you will. And the way they use that is using dead people's, EIN numbers, estate numbers, possibly social security numbers, something like that. The inside is not the truthful one, but the outside can always be sent to, possibly one of your old home addresses that you've definitely canceled, but they put back into commission, at least just for that piece of mail anyway, while they have somebody managing that. And that's how they use spouse in that aspect. So if you wonder how they would, like, let's say, I don't know, redirect one's assets after they're dead, and or possibly use one's, free trade as they are alive, just not knowing about it. The victim I'm referring to, well, that is how they would do it, via a special person or shell, special person of use. If you should, because, they always try to play grown up and play army and all this stuff. They feel if they give these criminal terms, proper terms instead, they can make the acting seem a little more authentic. Like, let's just take the example, let's say if you should go to the, government building as it may be known to be. They'll say, are you carrying any weapons on your person? That is what they will mean. And I think you will too, but it's just, it's used much more deviously. Okay, so that's what abbreviations and or combos are. It's just that some in particular are used much, much, much worse than you think, and affect you yourself if you are one of the true good American sovereign people that has been taken advantage of all this time. Then they are much worse than you could possibly ever imagine. Please take care of yourself. I'll talk to you next time.